what's going on? Welcome into DraftKings The Slate. It is a weekday program here on the DraftKings YouTube, Twitter page, and Twitch page. We go 5 p.m. till about 6 o'clock, Monday through Friday. Brendan Glasheen joined by Matt Meiselman and Geoff Ulrich. They are both DraftKings contributors. Fellas, hi. Good to see you.
Hi.
Hey, hello. Ready to break down some Monday Night Football and recap? Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about, it seems like.
Yeah, we sure do. We are a quarter.
Brief intro.
I guess technically we are not a quarter of the way because I guess by the halftime of next week, we are a quarter of the way next year because they're playing 17 weeks, not 16. Right. But, you know, come on. It's the same thing. But we will react to yesterday. That's how we will start the show. Coming up later on, we will look ahead to week 5. Some predictions we feel good about on Monday ahead of week 5 next week, and things we might feel passionate about, things we feel good about. There are some injuries as it relates to RB1s in the NFL, how that might affect strategy, betting lines also for that main slate next week. And of course, we will close the show with Chargers and Raiders Monday Night Football to wrap up week 4. So, Geoff, let me go to you first because I know you were eating a lot of popcorn last night. You were taking in that soap opera, maybe even shed a tear for Tom Brady. You may not have saw a tear from Tom because it was raining so hard in Foxborough last night. What'd you make of the soap opera last night?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit anticlimactic from the standpoint of, you know, I think everyone was expecting a bunch of points, Tom Brady come in and light up his old team, and it was just kind of like this drag it out, you know, close affair. It was a good game, but it was just, you know, it was actually, they played at the Patriots' pace. The Patriots, if we're being honest, controlled that game. They dictated the game. They just didn't pull out the W. It's kind of been the motto of their season thus far. But interesting game. I don't know what it says about either of these teams. I think it says more about positive about the Patriots, if we're being honest. But it was super interesting. I think it's, you know, getting to see the progression of Mac Jones again. I think that I take more things away about it from New England than I do about Tampa Bay, who seems to be lagging a little bit, especially defensively to start the year. Just my opinion.
Are the Patriots done?
No, they're not done. It's 4 games.
They're 1-3.
They're good. They should be 3-1. I mean, like let's be dead honest. If Bill Belichick,
I don't disagree.
If Bill Belichick gets a little bit more aggressive in week 1 and last night on 4th downs and stuff like that, they're probably 3-1. I don't know, man. I mean, it some bizarre play calls. I don't know why they didn't go for it before half and just let Tom Brady sit on the bench for 10 minutes. And I don't know why they didn't go for it at the end of the game either. 56 yards in the rain, and then you give Tom Brady the ball back with 50 seconds. I don't know what Matt's take on it is, but that was a bizarre decision for me.
Well, of course they would have scored if they gave him the ball back with 2 timeouts. We've been over this already. You know, come on. Like, by the way, if you think the Patriots will make the playoffs on the DK Sportsbook, yes, plus 225. No is at minus 280. Matt Meiselman, you don't have to touch this game because you were very, very adamant to mention to me when we did this show last week, I'm not all that interested in Bucs Patriots. It was more of a jumping off point today. What's your biggest takeaway from week 4 Sunday?
Yeah, I guess I could start with that game. Well, just quickly, like Geoff wasn't on yet when we were talking before the show, and I basically said to you what Geoff just said. Like the 4th down decision making was terrible. Like I don't understand that. We can make this an entire show about how NFL coaches still don't understand what to do on 4th down. Maybe that might be kind of boring, but it's just unbelievable that Bill Belichick of all people, who we probably could agree is the best coach in the history of the NFL, or at least he's one of the best, and he still doesn't know how to make, I mean, it's frustrating. But yeah, the biggest week 4 takeaway is probably that the Jets and Giants won. I think like it has to start there. I will say I'm surprised the Giants won outright. I'm not surprised to see the Titans struggle, and I think we'll get into that more when we talk about it next week. But the Jets actually, like Zach Wilson didn't look so bad. They're not huge underdogs going into Atlanta. And for next week, that could be a pretty intriguing DFS game. I know we're going to get to this millionaire contest too, and the winning lineup has Cordero Patterson in it. And I don't know what to do with this team because I'm someone who has been pretty high on Mike Davis to this point. I thought the Falcons were a really good stack for this week. I thought that was an awesome game stack. Logan Thomas goes out in the first quarter. doesn't get any fantasy points. And then Matt Ryan has a big game, but Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts basically don't do anything because Cordell Patterson catches all the touchdowns. So that was tough. Like if you landed on Patterson and avoided the rest of the game, you were set up so well for this slate. And this millionaire winner, that's what they had. So I guess you could have paired him with McLaurin and just done one from each side. But even without that, like the Patterson play and avoiding the Falcons, like to me, I'm just a little bitter seeing that.
Yeah, let's dive in. We've got it up right now. Dak Prescott's the quarterback, Barkley, Patterson. Geoff Ulrich, another golf clap for you. Deebo Samuel just continues to crush it. I think folks were a little duped again because Ayuk had a nice game last week. Deebo's salary goes down $100 each of the last couple weeks, and then you were rewarded if you took Deebo. 10% of lineups did.
I don't know how many times I got to say it, man. Deebo Samuel is the alpha there right now. Brandon Ayuk's a nice receiver. Like Deebo Samuel, we're talking like I don't know why people don't want to give him credit. Like he should be talked about with the most elite talents. This guy has led the league in yards after the catch, like every year, like in terms of average yards after the catch. I don't know why people don't like jump off their seats for this guy. And now he's actually getting targets. He was way too cheap last week against Seattle. He'll probably be too cheap next week too. And people still think Ayuk is the play for some reason, who again, I'm not trying to disparage. He's not Deebo Samuel. So yeah, I will give myself credit for that. Although if you just ate the chalk, DJ Moore was at the same price. I mean, both those guys were just screaming, play me there. And, I didn't play Cordell Patterson. I feel bad because I'm such a Cordell Patterson fan, but I'm so glad to see his usage in Atlanta. They're using him as the off guy. They're giving him chances to run after the catch. Yeah, look at Deebo's his 21 yards. Like these catch rates are just insane in terms of what he's averaging per catch. So I'm just so happy to see Deebo getting the work, and actually like Kyle Shanahan, again, one of the smarter coaches, just utilizing this guy who's so good after the catch. It's like the perfect marriage there. So don't get off Deebo. He'll probably come back with a couple slow weeks eventually. He sucked against Jair Alexander, but the targets are there. This is, as long as he stays healthy, Kyle Shanahan's going to use him. So.
Well, and I think you just nailed it. Folks were scared from the offseason foot injuries, and they weren't all too sure what it would look like. And Ayuk was getting a lot of that attention. Ayuk came on pretty high at the end of last year, and folks were forgetful about how good Deebo Samuel is in that offense. And Jimmy Garoppolo likes going to him. That's a whole nother discussion as to what they do if Garoppolo's okay and if Trey Lance does indeed take the baton going forward for the Niners. And yes, DJ Moore, Matt Meiselman, I'm not sure if you have more to offer there, but just the DJ Moore play and just his play through 4 weeks, to me, is slightly stunning because he's got a new quarterback. Him and Sam Darnold have clicked from the start.
Yeah, some of this is a product of the matchup, though. Like they're playing the Cowboys, who are a super pass-heavy team with a bad defense. So you get a combination of both an extremely high pace and just a good matchup facing a low-quality defense. So, like, I thought Moore would be higher owned. 17.6%, honestly, seems low.
Yeah.
Like, I was off of him just because I thought he'd be 25%. And really, though, 17%, like, that's still more than a receiver should be on a slate this big. Like, there were so many good options. Deebo was only 10%. Like, that's a much better play. So, I'm also a little surprised that Deebo wasn't, like, a chalk play either. Though 10% is not low. Like he was still, I think, 2 or 3 times what Brandon Ayuk was. And Ayuk was only $5K. Like Samuel was $1,500 more expensive. So it's not like he was super contrarian or anything. Like the real contrarian play here was Saquon Barkley, because for some reason, Corey Davis got to 10%. I didn't mind the Jets passing game this week, but maybe there was that revenge narrative that played into some of Davis's ownership. I don't know if that was a relevant thing or not for when people decided on their lineups, but Barkley had a huge game at only 2.4%. I didn't think Montgomery was a great play because the ownership was high. So that backfired on me for sure. I was off DJ Moore for the ownership. I did actually make a point to prioritize the Bills defense this week. And if you look at the full contest ownership, the Detroit Lions came in at 30%, which is just like, I mean, you can't play a defense at 30%. There's just like, it's too random of a spot. Unless it's like great defense versus really, really bad team. Like if the Bills were cheap, then I'd understand. But yeah, like the Lions just got plugged into lineups because they only cost $2,200. And even against the Bears, like the Lions were underdogs. There wasn't this expectation the Bears would need to throw the ball a ton against them. So, I mean, that was the craziest thing to me from like what people did in week 4 is that everyone just played the Lions defense. And the Lions have a terrible defense. So
it just doesn't make a lot of sense. You didn't know you get a breaking kneecaps bonus when you roster the Lions defense.
Sure.
I mean,
how many points is that worth?
Stunning number. Anything to add, Geoff?
No, I mean, yeah, the Bills defense definitely, it's pretty crazy, pay all the way up for defense and still manage to take it down. But there were it kind of speaks to how good values that guys like Samuel and Moore were. And then also, when you have guys like Davis and Patterson going off at 5K, I mean, those guys are legitimately, those are like, they're perfect GPP targets because their floors are like, I mean, Patterson's only playing like 30% of the snaps. So their floors, both those guys are really low, but their upside, as we've seen from Corey Davis a couple times, it's pretty big. It's GPP winning big. So it's from that perspective, like if you're ever paying up for the Bills defense, those are the type of players you need to be targeting. So it makes a lot of sense, but kind of unique. I don't remember last time I saw a big Millie Maker winner with the most expensive defense. I'm sure it's happened more than I remember, but kind of funny to see it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think to Matt's point, you want to create some differentiation and maybe.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah,
leaning towards a team when you're playing the Texans and Buffalo has clearly found its stride, a defense that had yet to really play its best game. They certainly did so yesterday.
And again, I think Davis Mills is terrible. That's all I was going to say. I mean,
they didn't even score a touchdown and they still put up 23 points. Like this could have been a much bigger game than they had. Just one last thing on the defense.
They played well against Miami for the record. So that's 6 sacks against Miami. Went 2 of them.
People may be seeing this lineup and thinking, where's Tyreek Hill? Because Tyreek Hill scored 50 fantasy points. And my intuition is that almost every Tyreek Hill lineup had the Lions defense because Hill was $8,000. If you were fitting him in, you most likely needed cheaper everything all around. Mahomes is expensive. So a lot of the Hill lineups probably had Mahomes. So the combination of Hill with the Lions, who I think like that just naturally fit together, actually scored less points than either DJ Moore or Deebo Samuel combined with the Bills defense, because the Lions defense, I think, had something like 3 points. So it would have been hard to play Tyreek Hill and then hit the ceiling outcomes on other players because there were also these value plays this week that just didn't do well. Like Lions defense is 1, but then Will Dissly at 2.5 points. He was the chalk tight end, I think was the highest on guy. And then the Titans had some cheap receivers who didn't do much of anything. And I think there were a couple others. Trey Sermon at running back was one of the higher on running backs. He didn't have a good game either. I think 9 fantasy points. So yeah, no Tyreek Hill in the winning lineup. Like I thought, okay, Hill's got 50 points now, guaranteed. All the winning laps will have him. You have no shot. Like you're not even going to cash if you don't have Tyreek Hill. And now we're looking at this. He's not even in the winner. So it certainly wasn't true, just the way the slate broke down.
It's excellent analysis on the DFS front. I do want to get some bigger picture sportsbook thoughts out there and just maybe some developing opinions. I think at this stage in the season, now that we're 4 weeks in, we're reminded when you do place a bet on the sportsbook, and again, we'll get into Raiders Chargers very soon here on the slate. Underdogs do well yet again, 10-5 yesterday against the spread. Underdogs are now 37-24 against the spread this season. Everyone has a win against the spread now. The Chiefs, Jets, football team, and the Jaguars, going back to last Thursday, got wins against the spread. But betting spots and scenarios. And for me, I know Geoff can relate. I was very excited to share with Geoff yesterday that I bet the Seahawks too. We're both into the Seahawks, Meiselman. The Seahawks are just too good to be 1-3. The Chiefs are just too good to be 1-3. Both of those teams to me were in good spots yesterday. I thought yesterday was a nice reminder that we now have a couple games booked in the season. You got to bet spots. Matt, is that fair?
I guess. I mean, I see what you're saying, but I also like my general place that I come from on these things is that every game is independent and the team's record doesn't make them play better in the upcoming game. Like the Chiefs could start 1-3 and then from there they start their winning streak. And we also talked about last week, like I don't know how great they are. I mean, clearly they played really, really well. I thought the Chiefs would win yesterday. I thought the Eagles would cover, but yeah, like I don't put too much stock into the fact that a team has a certain record and now they're going to like have more motivation to get back in it. I think I would lean more towards like, why are they 1-2? What's wrong with them? You know, something like clearly their defense has struggled, but I mean, they proved you guys right because they really dominated most of that game.
Geoff, any thought on that? Just as far as how you're adjusting your betting angles through a couple weeks now?
No, I mean, with like the Seahawks, especially on the money line, whenever there's an elite quarterback in play like Russell Wilson, I don't even know if I think the Seahawks are that good a team. It's just I trust Russell Wilson to do something great and figure it out. And that's exactly actually what happened in that game. They went to a quicker pace. Russ figured out what he needed to fix, and he fixed it in game. Literally, that game was won by Russell Wilson. And I'm not being facetious at all. You look back and what happened. He went to his OC and said, let's play up tempo. Let me call plays. He fixed it. He fixed the game for the Seahawks and he won it. So I think taking guys like that, elite quarterbacks in when they're a little bit discounted off a loss, it's really never a losing strategy. I think when you're getting the right odds anyways. So that was my approach to that game. But yeah, in general, it's kind of what you're saying. You know, those teams, they're probably better than their record, although they're still flawed, I think. So
I do think it could be a missing piece in my logic too, because like football more than any other sport, strategy matters a lot. Like you can't really just call better plays in basketball and certainly not in baseball. Like the talent wins out, but like football scheme wise, that can be more relevant things. So like good coaches, good quarterbacks, they may just be more inclined to make adjustments. And maybe that's kind of what both of you are alluding to. Mm-hmm. So like, I can see that for sure. So, and again, I know I keep saying this, we're a quarter of the way through the season. And this was something I wanted to talk about a couple weeks ago, just to get this take or this development off my chest, and it's starting to play out. But I'm curious about your thoughts on the MVP race, because Kyler Murray is the favorite at plus 450. They're a great story. They're 4-0. They were predicted to finish last. They just knocked off the Rams, who everyone's been talking about, to win that division, to win that conference, and go to the Super Bowl. Kyler Murray just 2 weeks ago was at plus 750, tied with Tom Brady, second best odds, only behind Mahomes, who was at plus 550. I think we all know how this award works by now. It is the new fun toy in the toy chest. Who is making headlines? Who's the most fun? Like, it's a narrative award. Tom Brady, and this is not fair to Patrick Mahomes. I get the Brady side of it, but folks are already over Patrick Mahomes, which is just kind of sad about how we consume sports. Like, this guy is still fantastic. However, they are 2-2, the Chiefs. So that is a factor. You might want to hold off on this, though, with Kyler Murray, because, their schedule gets really hard. Are you touching Kyler Murray? Do you like Kyler Murray at this point at plus 450 for MVP? Jeff?
No.
Okay.
Look, I think Kyler Murray is definitely a generational talent. He's, in terms of what he can do rushing and passing the ball, it's probably like something we haven't really seen. Maybe since like Russell Wilson, and I don't even know, like Wilson isn't as good a runner as Kyler is. Kyler Murray is an insanely good rusher, but he also is going to be more prone to injuries. You mentioned the schedule. There's no way I'm going to touch him at plus 450. Now I look down this board. I feel like Josh Allen, with how well the Bills are playing, has a really good chance to just be steady the whole year, not go through as many dips. Mm-hmm. I kind of like that number. If I was going to the top 5 guys, that is where I would go. I am looking at Russell Wilson at plus 1,800. I'm interested. And I'll tell you, if you're looking for a long shot, man, like, why is Joe Burrow plus 5,000 with like Baker Mayfield and like Jameis Winston? Yeah. Are you kidding me? Like, this guy is playing on one leg. The Bengals are 3-1. And hey, you look at all of Joe Burrow's stats, completion rate, yards per attempt. They are right up there with the elites, man. So if you want a long shot, I'm not saying this is even going to pay off, but like if the Bengals somehow win that division, you bet Joe Burrow is going to be in the MVP conversation. So those are the guys that I got my eye on. I think Allen would be the preferred bet for me if we're talking about just straight up like the top 5 guys. And just a thought on the Bengals. If you look at their schedule, they've got the Jets coming up, and then there's another game, and I can't remember. It might be Houston. They're gonna, pretty good schedule. They're going to be 5-3. If I had to guess, they'll be 5-3 based on how their schedule plays out. So Meiselman, real quick, 8 of the next 9 for Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. Niners, Browns, Texans. Okay, that's a layup. Packers, Niners, Panthers, Seahawks, Bears in December on the other in the cold, and then home Rams. And that's obvious, playing in that such a difficult division. I would say go back to Matt Stafford after losing this game. Matt Stafford's at plus 1,400. The Rams go at the Seahawks Thursday night, and then at Giants, home Lions, at Texans, home Titans. It softens up. So if you like Matt Stafford, it might be a good time to get Matt Stafford. I don't know. I think I'm a lot more bullish on Kyler Murray. Like at plus 450, I don't know if there's a ton of edge there left, but you also
you're right. The next stretch of the schedule gets difficult, but then after that, they've got a bye in week 12. And from there, like the schedule is actually pretty easy. They face, I guess the Bears are on the road. So that is a bit of a problem, but like the Rams at home, that's a game where you can put up numbers. Like playing the Cowboys, they're a good team, but it's the same thing, right? Like it doesn't matter necessarily that you're very likely to win the game. Those are matchups where tons of points could be put up. They close the season home against the Seahawks, same thing. There's a Lions game in there at the end. Mm-hmm. There's a Colts game at home. Like, I don't think that the schedule is problematic. It's just the next couple weeks we could see the stock fall a bit and then maybe it bounces back later. So like maybe you do want to wait for this number to go back up. But to the point about like the narrative wins out and like the newer guy has the better shot, I think that's totally true. Like that is why I like Kyler Murray for MVP, is like he hasn't really been in contention for it before. Yep. The Cardinals are 4-0. Like I think the most undervalued thing here is just the team's record. Like we're not trying to say who the best quarterback is. We're trying to guess who the voters are going to vote for.
Correct.
And if Arizona goes 13-4 this year, like I think he's got a really good shot. And I think like they could win 12 or 13 games. They're off to a really good start. They have some difficult games coming up, but I also think they're a better team than the Seahawks. Maybe they're not better than the Rams, but they're probably better than the Niners too. They're certainly a well above average team. So even if they're not an elite team, the fact that they're already off to 4-0, like they can just be kind of average the rest of the way and win 12 games.
Yeah, I know heading into the year, I was iffy about them going to Tennessee and winning that game. They did. Minnesota, shootout, won it at Jacksonville. And that's when I started thinking like, he's going to start 3-0. If Stafford beats Brady, which he did, it sets up 3-0 head to head. And I felt whoever won that game yesterday was going to be the front runner. Like if Stafford's 4-0, I think Matt Stafford is your leader for that award. And look, he's been in the league for a long time, as we know, but great story, leads Detroit. He's in prime time. He's in Los Angeles. He's leading a team that's just a quarterback away. It creates a narrative. So that's just something I felt that was interesting to discuss since we're a quarter of the way through. Real quick, before we look at what we're going to get to Monday Night Football here in just a second, and maybe look ahead to some games in week 5 before we do so. Any thoughts on the Joe Mixon injury news and then what's going on with Chicago with Montgomery and Williams? Schefter today on Mixon, low-grade ankle sprain. He's week to week. I looked at P-Ryan. He's only $4,000 next week against the Packers. And then Williams has a thigh bruise. Montgomery did not tear his ACL, but there are some concerns. Geoff, any thoughts on the running backs there?
Okay, so the Bengals have a guy named Chris Evans. You probably should be interested about really good pass catching back. Samaje Perine, they really like. They have hung on to him for a couple years. So I think both those guys will get involved. I think Evans has the bigger upside. And that is a guy you really just want to pay attention to because, again, PPR, we know DraftKings. Now, they're playing the Jets this week, right, Glash? Is that correct?
No, they're playing the Packers.
The Bengals?
The Bengals, yes. The Packers.
Oh, the Packers. Okay, so Evans could definitely be in play there. And then on the other one, I mean, it's really straightforward. Like it's Damian Williams. They brought him in. He's Matt Nagy's boy. Like he will get the workload. There's no doubt about it. So it's just a matter of, do you want to trust the Chicago Bears skill player, quite frankly, which you probably shouldn't, but he'll definitely be in play. Maybe a player that you may end up fading in DFS if it gets too spicy there with the ownership. But I'm interested in the Bengals situation. I think there's a couple guys there. I think Perine's actually a pretty good back too. So more interested in that than necessarily what's going on with Chicago, because that offense is just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Meiselman, any thought on the Bears?
Yeah, so Williams is priced up to 5,600. Like he's not even much cheaper than David Montgomery is. So like
Montgomery's
that's not
59. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's not particularly exciting. Like that'll be a fine DFS play, but I don't even think he'll be that popular at that number. Like that probably just makes him middle of the pack. Maybe 10% of the field has him, something like that. So it's not a situation to really like judge too much. But the Bengals situation, yeah, like whoever basically gets touted as the lead guy there, I'm super interested in. And I also I know we'll get to it, but sportsbook wise, the Bengals to me this week.
Let's do it. We'll go there right now. I'll pull it up.
Okay, awesome. So I think the Bengals are the most undervalued team. And I kind of scanned these lines before, and I essentially think every game is fair this week, except this one.
Constructive criticism. We need it.
So yeah, the odds makers did a perfect job, but I think the Bengals should be like +2 or less because I think they're a decent team. And I think that they're getting dinged for the fact that Joe Mixon is out. I don't think Joe Mixon's very good. I think he's just a guy who gets the ball 30 times, and he's a really good fantasy player for that reason. But he's also a running back, and this is something I want to touch on a little bit too with the Titans. Like, you can't be a good team with an efficient running game and nothing else, because as good as Derrick Henry is, like, that doesn't produce winning. Like, you can't be a great football team just having 4.5 to 5 yards per carry and doing it 37 times. Like, that doesn't translate to success. So running just like isn't as important as passing. So yeah, just back to the Bengals quickly. Like, I don't think it matters Mixon is out really at all. And it looks like, to me, the line is moving as a result of it. And it
bigger injuries are on the other side there too, Matt. Jari Alexander is like in a sling, man. Like that, he might be the Packers' second best player. Like if he's out for that game, they already have Zadarius Smith out. That defense, yeah, I agree 100%. Bengals, when you're getting the 0.5 there, even at +3, I would take the Bengals. So I'm down with that 100%. Who cares who's playing running back? Like I said, the Bengals have two perfectly good replacements there. So
and T. Higgins should be back this week too. So
both of these teams beat the Steelers, and I know we're going to talk about the Raiders tonight. The Raiders also beat the Steelers. So
sorry, I had to say that.
What's that?
They stink though.
Who?
The Steelers.
No, I agreed. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think the Packers being a 3.5 point favorite, we didn't really learn all that much about the Packers this past week. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I mean, I still think the Packers with Aaron Rodgers. I shouldn't even say that, man. I do agree. Like, this game could be really close. I think +2, +1.5 even is probably where the line should be. So I'm in full agreement with Matt. The Bengals are getting underrated here, and the Packers, like I said, yeah, they got Aaron Rodgers, but this is a close game, especially without their best player on defense. Oof.
Okay, so I'm going to go there. We're not getting into the nitty gritty of this, but I think you all saw what happened with Urban Meyer on Twitter. And Urban Meyer made a statement today. He's really sorry. You got to take the Titans -4 this week, right? I mean, this is just going to be a nightmare. Is it not?
I don't think the Titans are good. Like, this is the problem. Sure, I get what you're saying, but like, without AJ Brown and Julio Jones, the Titans don't really have an offense. Like, you can't just run the ball and be efficient. It doesn't produce points in the way passing does. And this is not a good passing offense with the current roster. Like, I think Ryan Tannehill's fine. He's not good enough to lead an offense with no capable receiving options. Like, that's basically where they're at right now. They don't have their tight ends from last year. They're down to the bottom of the depth chart at receiver. Like, my favorite future bet on the board right now is the Titans have a win total at 9.5. I have no idea why it's that high. So, like, sure, the Jaguars have some turmoil, but there's a reason the Titans are only 4-point favorites. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that line.
Okay. Jeff?
Yeah, I don't know what to do with this game either, man.
Maybe you'll have an updated thought on Wednesday with Emerson when he joins.
Here's the problem. Like, the Jaguars actually looked okay on offense last week. And I mean, they kind of bullied the Bengals around a little bit. And if they bring that same offense, like, they'll be able to move the ball against the Titans. And then it's still the same situation for the Titans. Ryan Tannehill and a cast of nobodies, trying to pass his way out of it. It didn't work against the Jets. It might work against the Jags just because they're like a little bit looser team. But yeah, this one, I don't know. I don't really want to trust the Jags at all. So I probably lean towards the Titans at this number, but maybe try and wait to see if it gets down to 3. But I don't know if it's going to, because nobody wants to. I don't know, man. This game is take the over. You know what I recommend? Take the over. Both these defenses suck. So yeah, over 48.5. That's where I would go.
Maybe the Jags will just play in spite of their coach. And they're like, you know what?
Well, maybe they'll. Who knows? But that's the thing. We don't know. Maybe they will actually rally behind this. Be like, why is everyone behind Urban? Why is it like? I don't know how the team's going to react. It's probably not. It's probably a negative, but
okay.
Teams react in weird situations sometimes. So
it's true. And to be fair, I'm thinking when this happened, I'm like, oh wait, they got a game tomorrow, and I'm like, wait a minute, no, they played Thursday night.
Okay, and here's the last thought. The one thing that really has me worried, like, Derrick Henry absolutely owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, he like legitimately, he's one of. I don't know how many kids he has, but like the Jacksonville Jaguars are one of them. So I would kind of expect an angry Derrick Henry. I know that's narrative, but he could just take over this game too.
But like, they know he's going to run every play, right? Like, there's no passing offense here. They're going to have 10 guys in the box
every year. They play the
Well, not to this extent though. Like AJ Brown's usually there. There's
Yeah.
some competence at receiver. Like it's gone right now. I guess it'll be different. Like we don't know for sure Brown and Julio are out, but it seems that way.
It's a weirdly interesting game for many reasons.
Yes. Okay. Well, that is our week 5 look ahead. All of you that want to start building your Derrick Henry Jaguar baby memes, we will take them at some point down the road here. Let's talk about tonight. Okay, let's do tonight. Raiders are 3-0. They're getting 3 points at the Chargers, who are 2-1. The last time the Raiders were 4-0, you got to go back to 2002 when the Raiders were 4-0. Of course, both teams are trying to keep pace with Kansas City. However, we do know one team will be in first place or in a tie for first place with a win tonight. Adam Schefter, one report on the injury front. Raiders want to see how Josh Jacobs, who is $7,600 tonight dealing with the ankle, they're going to see how he looks and feels during pregame, and that will make their, they'll watch how he does, and that will make their choice as to whether or not he'll play tonight. And then John Gruden also did mention that Peyton Barber could be the feature back. Let's start with the showdown. Of course, the quarterbacks are up there as far as the price. Matt Meiselman, we will get to betting thoughts in a bit as well, but if you had to really sink your teeth into this football game, you are going to the DFS side, and you're intrigued by the Raiders running back situation after just giving you those updates on which I don't know if you guys have heard anything on Jacobs, if there's an update there. I'm assuming we'll get more on that as the night unfolds. That's very well done, producer Eamon, with the meme. So anyway, yeah, running back situation. How do you feel about it? How does it impact your showdown strategy?
So I have no idea what's going to happen here. My guess is Jacobs plays, but beyond that, I don't really know. Like this could be a game where Jacobs is limited. Kenyon Drake plays some snaps. Maybe they run all 3 of their running backs because Peyton Barber's coming off of a good game. So I'll start out by saying that like there's a ton of uncertainty here, but I think because of that, the field is going to get almost entirely scared off. And it's not just that, like there are some elite options in this game where if you use any sort of optimizer, like you're going to get Herbert, you're going to get Carr, Eckler, Allen, Waller. Most lineups will have 3, if not 4, and maybe even 5 of those guys. So like playing some of these mid-price running backs on the Raiders side, like it just won't fit into the lineups that most people are creating. So to begin with, like even if we knew Jacobs was going to be on the field for 70% of the snaps, I think even if we knew that, he still might only be 20% owned because his price just doesn't fit with the construction of like these high projecting guys that are the more reliable parts of both teams, like Derek Carr and Darren Waller. Those are the reliable parts of the Raiders. And then for the Chargers, it's their passing game with Allen and Williams. So the fact that there's uncertainty with the playing time now, I think that just makes it even better. Like Jacobs could score 3 fantasy points on 7 carries and not really do a ton. But I also think he could get 15 carries and score 2 touchdowns. And if he's 12% or 15% or even 20% owned in a showdown contest, like that's super appealing. So for GPPs, Jacobs is my favorite player if he's in. If he's not in, it's probably Barber, maybe it's Drake. Like I think this is going to sound similar to last week, right? Where I talked about how you could play Zeke and Pollard. And I feel
you said Captain Zeke, which was a good call.
Yeah, I almost had the perfect strategy there, except I didn't like Dalton Schultz as much as other people did, and he actually ended up outscoring Zeke for the game with all of the late touchdowns that he got. So that was a little frustrating. But yeah, Zeke was the second highest scorer, had a great game. But Tony Pollard was good too, and I don't know that the Raiders can like get out to a big lead and just run the ball like the Cowboys did, but I think it's possible. Like I do think the Chargers are a bit overrated. So like I'm not picking the Raiders to win, but I do think the possibility of the Raiders having a lead, Jacobs running a lot, and then maybe even Drake or Barber also running a lot. I think that's just an undervalued outcome that isn't likely, but it's more likely than people will realize.
Okay, and so who would you put in the captain spot? Are you saying Captain Jacobs?
I think you can. I'm not as confident in that, but like if he gets his normal workload, he's way underpriced. I mean, just look at him compared to the other receivers and the couple quarterbacks there. He's just so much cheaper than them. The one exception that's weird for this game though is that Keenan Allen is way cheaper than Mike Williams, which is just like kind of odd. So I don't know, like Geoff, what are you thinking there? Because like, do people just not play Williams, or are they going to chase the touchdowns?
No, I think people will chase Mike Williams just because of those touchdowns. I I'm fully bullish on Keenan Allen in this spot, though, and I don't even care if he is going to be like the chalk. That's where I would go. This is such like a game where the Chargers should be going back to Keenan Allen. You look at how the Raiders are set up. They've got Casey Hayward on the outside, like a 36% completion rate so far. He's going to be covering Mike Williams. And I'm not saying he's going to shut Mike Williams down completely, but like the thing with the Raiders has been just throw over the middle because there's got nobody else to cover them. Look at what Deontay Johnson did. Jalen Waddle last week. Like Keenan Allen's going to be open all day here, all day. I'm weirdly confident that like Keenan Allen, if he has less than 100 yards and like 8 catches here, I'll be disappointed. So I think you're going to see a really big game from Keenan Allen, maybe from Austin Eckler too, who runs some of those same routes out of the backfield. But I think this is a huge, just a shift right here. I think that the Raiders, their thing has been to do that and then just try and leave the open field for the rest. And Keenan Allen can't be covered most days anyways. So I'm looking at that. And you have the Chargers who throw a lot too. I think it just sets up perfectly for Keenan Allen tonight. I hope people do chase the Mike Williams touchdowns. And then on the other side, I just don't want to play either of Jacobs or Barber. I'm fine fading them both. If one of them breaks out, that's fine. They just can't really run the ball that well. I know Peyton Barber did it well last week, and maybe that happens again. But like, I think I'd rather play Drake there. I think there's a good chance that the Chargers will be ahead by quite a bit because of what I've already said. I think Keenan Allen destroys the secondary, and then they just can't really run that much anyway. So I think Drake is actually a pretty solid play. My decision is between Drake and Bryan Edwards down there because they're almost the same price. Edwards probably the higher upside play, but I do like Drake there tonight. I think he's the Raiders running back you should be looking at. He's the one who we know has a role too.
Yes.
Like he's going to be out there. So
he's a big part as to why the Raiders have been really good on third down. They're right around 47% for the season. Of course, third down back, he's out there in those situations. Raiders have the number 1 ranked offense in the league at 471 yards per game. The Chargers defense, we've talked about this before, the football team to open up the season. Then you play Dallas, then you play Kansas City. Do you at all consider, and maybe this does play a part, maybe this is more of a betting angle, is tonight a taking off point for the Chargers defense? Like I feel like we've yet to see this Chargers defense play its best game. They're at home, primetime game. Raiders kind of feel due to have a rough night on offense. Is this a good spot for the Chargers defense, Geoff?
So Kenneth Murray is out, which kind of stinks for them. He's a really good linebacker, but I'm trying to get some info. I've been trying all show to get some info on Chris Harris Jr. He's questionable. I don't think it's been a decision yet. Really good corner. I think if he's back and if he's even just like 80%, I think it's going to be, I think it could be a breaking out spot. I think that's a very good way to put it because I think this Raiders offense has been flying a little bit over their pay grade. I think their outside options are going to get shut down, especially if Harris is back. Even if Harris isn't back, like they still have Samuel back there, some really good players. And then I think it just becomes like he's got to target Darren Waller all the time, which is fine, but I don't know if you can necessarily win a game that way. So I do think this could be a good game for the Chargers defense, which hasn't been like that great to begin the year, but has talent. So
Brandon Staley, the head coach, said 2 days ago on Harris, he wants to get out there, but it will be a game time decision. He tested the shoulder out with pads this week. That's encouraging that he had pads on and division game, chance to be atop the division, of course, with a win tonight. It's a big spot, obviously. How about any other final thought? Any must fades tonight? Like Geoff, it sounds like you're not all too in the running backs. You got to get both quarterbacks in.
I don't think so. I think you could see a more muted game from Derek Carr. Again, I mean, I think the Chargers have some talent in the secondary. You could maybe see him get picked, although that could just lead to more passing. But I do think the Chargers perhaps maybe just shut down Derek Carr a little bit. So I think to me, the two must plays are Waller and Keenan Allen, because I think Derek Carr might just have to target Darren Waller like 19 times again in this game. And I think Keenan Allen is going to go absolutely berserk. So those are the two must plays for me on both sides. I think I would rather pay up for Herbert than Carr in this spot. I just trust that a little bit more, although Carr could really be in the garbage time situation. I'm not really in on either of the Raiders running backs, and Mike Williams is kind of a fade. That's the way I'm looking at this. For props, really like the over on Bryan Edwards receiving yards.
Meiselman, real quick, Choker weighs in the chat, says Meiselman loves the ownership leverage in all sports, probably why he is most likely richer than me. GPPs are fun.
Well, I'll keep that on the DL because I don't need to reveal too much. But yeah, like I think for tournaments, you do need to think about these things. It is like the clearest path to victory. And I also I think Geoff is describing the perfect cash game strategy for tonight. Like Keenan Allen's way underpriced. I think Herbert is a guy you need to have if you're playing a cash game. Kenyon Drake is the safest of the Raiders backfield. I think Austin Eckler is a must-have if you're playing a cash game too, which is why like I'm not saying fade those guys. I do think Herbert and Allen, or maybe Herbert and Williams, those guys are fine to have in lineups, but like no one's going to play the Raiders backfield. And when I say no one, I don't mean zero. I mean, like you could get an 8% owned Josh Jacobs if like there's a legitimate fear that he will play, 30% of the snaps because he's gimpy. But like, what if he doesn't play 30% of the snaps? What if he plays 80% because he starts off really well? And we just talked about Chargers defense. They have injuries at linebacker. They were much worse against the run than the past last year. It's been even more extreme this year. Like this is not, I don't think this is a good defense. They're especially vulnerable against the run. And it's like, like I said, I don't think the Raiders win, but they could win. This is only a 3-point line. I think the Chargers last year too were super inconsistent. And I think that they're kind of just bound to be that, where like, if they win this game by 3 touchdowns and Herbert just dominates and Derek Carr isn't good, I won't be shocked. But if the Raiders get out, the outcome that has the least amount of people playing for it is the one where the Raiders are up early. Like that's basically what it is. And I think it's only slightly less likely than the outcome where the Chargers have the lead.
We have Hunter Renfro's player bio pulled up because we have a question about Hunter Renfro tonight. He is $8,700 in the captain spot. Renfro $5,800. Any interest there? He's had at least 6 targets in the first 3 games of the season, Geoff.
Yeah, no, definitely some interest. Like I said, I mean, I'd much rather be paying. I think this is a perfect spot to be paying down for. I just don't really have any interest in Henry Ruggs, and there's only a $600 difference. So you're not even really like paying up for Henry Ruggs. I mean, it's not even. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I just like Renfro better. I think it's a good garbage time spot where he could just pile up some easy receptions late in this game if they're down 2. So. Again, you've got like 3 Raiders down there in Edwards, Drake, and Renfro. Drake probably going to be the chalkiest of the 3, probably has the safest floor because he gets the carries too. But like Renfro or Edwards, man, like you can kind of pick your poison here. Renfro more the volume guy, but we've seen him break off big plays too. I like both of them. I think at least you'll see one of them maybe pick up some garbage time. Maybe they get a garbage time touchdown too. So I like all 3 of those plays better than paying up for Ruggs.
Okay, we're running out of time. We had to go to the sports book. Raiders are +3 as of right now on the DraftKings Sportsbook. That's where the odds are coming to you, of course. Total has shifted to 51.5. It was at 52 when we opened the show. The spread, by the way, the line started at 4. It worked to 3.5. Now it's at 3. And then the total, the market has focused on the point total. It boosted as high as 53, down to 51. It was at 52, as I said. Now it's at 51.5. 66% of the handle, 2/3 of the handle, Meiselman, on the Raiders to cover, but more than 50% of the bets are on the Chargers to cover tonight. So a difference between the handle, of course, and the bets. How do you feel about the spread for tonight?
Yeah, I do feel like the Raiders are a bit undervalued. It's just like I just don't buy the Chargers as a really good team, and I think it mostly comes down to their defense. This is a weird game, though, because I think these are 2 teams that are both overvalued. I just think the Chargers are more overvalued. Like the Raiders are playing over their heads also. So we've got a game between 2 teams that have overachieved. And that's always kind of a weird thing. The total is pretty interesting too. Like you said, it's moved around a lot. I think the primary reason for this is Josh Jacobs. I think the play calling will vary a bit based on whether or not he's in there. So if he's out, you get more passing. If he's in, they probably lean on him a little bit. Even if he's not, like the workhorse back tonight, I think just the fact that he would be in the game means they'd run a little bit more. So that brings the total down. Like I think the total dropping is an indication that Jacobs is going to play. That's basically how I'm seeing it.
All right, Geoff, come on. Let's be consistent. Mr. Over, right? Over, slam it, hammer it.
Yeah, I mean, I would lean over here. I mean, I'm not super interested in the under in this game. I think there's more scenarios where both defenses end up breaking down. Matt mentioned the Chargers defense. I do think this is a spot where the Chargers defense maybe makes a bit of a stand at home. Like I said, they've got talent, but they're not good against the run. That's right. Derek Carr, garbage time could just get you there. And look, Herbert could put up 35 points here. It's not like the Raiders or anything special. And I like the mismatches too much to be saying, yeah, take the under. I think this one probably gets there, even though it might get sloppy at the end or something. We need some kind of weird garbage time touchdown, but I would be on the over. As far as the line goes, I'm all about the Chargers here. You look at the Raiders, barely beat Miami. Let's give the Chargers a little credit. Yeah, they lost to Dallas, but like we know Dallas is like a pretty solid team. I mean, they've played pretty well. I mean, so I don't think there's any harm in losing a close game there where they easily could have won. They beat the Chiefs, man. I'm going to give the Chargers some credit here. I think this is a bit of a coming out party for them, and they kind of assert their dominance in this division.
Yeah, and they opened the season at the football team. So West Coast team going to an East Coast team to begin the season. So totally fair. I'm fascinated by the fact we've got two really high-powered offenses, but I get that sense. I'm interested in the Raiders personally because I think the Raiders are fun to bet on primetime games. But yeah, this could be a spot where the Chargers do kind of have a breakout night defensively, and we're reminded of their personnel. But the Chargers do charger quite a bit, so that's just something to think about. Also,
the last time these teams played each other, just quickly, the last time they played each other, if I'm remembering correctly, was the Marcus Mariota night where he was in.
Oh my God, that was a Thursday night. You're right, in December.
Yeah, Carr got hurt, and Mariota wound up putting up like 26 fantasy, something crazy in relief.
That was, and he's still hurt, right? Mariota, he's hurt.
Yeah, so we
shouldn't play him. We shouldn't. Maybe that's the value play tonight. You put Mariota in a lineup.
If you're going to do the backup quarterback thing, he's not active. I don't think we don't have the official inactives out yet, but like you got to pick a different backup.
Jeff, before we wrap it up, I want to talk Bryan Edwards props. I see his receiving yards is at 39.5. That's minus 120, so it's been juiced a bit. And then looking at his reception total, 2.5 at minus 140.
Yeah, I mean, I always lean I mean, look, he's averaging like 20 yards per catch right now. That'll probably come down, but that's where they're using him. I mean, this is like a guy who can get you there on one catch. That total has come up. It was 36.5 this morning. So obviously people have hammered it. It was too low. I mean, he is out there getting targets, and he's probably better than Henry Ruggs. So, and you'll probably get like the non-dominant coverage, which is always nice. I'd still take the over there. Honestly, I would. I think that he should be closer to around like 41.5. So I still like the over there. Really like the player. Less bullish at that number than 36, obviously. But
just a couple other thoughts here before we wrap. And just this is kind of to the Jeff's point about giving the Chargers some credit. They've played. What's really interesting is you look at the 3 games they played. The football team, not so much, but Dallas and Kansas City. The fact that the Chargers have played in their games this year, it's just a 3-game sample, that the games they've played in have averaged only 42 points. That's a little surprising to me when you consider the offenses that Dallas and Kansas City have. And then Vegas, as we talked about, kind of fluky. Their games have averaged 54 points. And here's a nice stat on Justin Herbert, 5-2 against the spread against his division. And that includes a win last week. So that might be the quarterback. And I don't think we've talked a lot of Herbert tonight, but just Justin Herbert and the success he's had against his division against the spread, including a win last week. That might be the separating stat to lean Chargers, I guess.
Yeah, the thing I'm reading into the Chiefs game, so like I don't want to get too much into that because I do think most of that tends to be noise. Like it's hard to imagine what could be there that makes Herbert good against divisional opponents. I think what mostly happened against Kansas City is Mahomes had some bad turnover luck. There were some I think there was at least one bobbled pass that resulted in a pick. I think the Chiefs had 3 turnovers in the first half of that game. So like I think the Chargers lucked into a win there. I think the Chiefs are also maybe a bit overvalued. Like they're in the top class of teams, but they're not the class of the NFL. So there is no great team, basically, is what I'm saying. So it's not like they beat some juggernaut. They beat one of the best teams, but they're in the same category as like Tampa or Buffalo or whoever. But I do think the Chargers got pretty lucky in that game with just the way the ball bounced and the turnover luck there. So I don't want to give them too much credit because like the other 2 games they played, the Washington and Dallas games, I think those were both average outcomes, right? Like they beat Washington, who's not very good. They lost close to Dallas, which is probably just what you would expect. And then, they had a kind of lucky game against the Chiefs. So I'm still not really a believer in this team overall.
Okay. And on the Raiders side, of course, they are 2-0 straight up in games they've played as an underdog, and they hope to get to 4-0 for the first time since 2002. Jeff, any final thoughts before we go? You good?
No, I mean, this should be a fun game. I mean, I think Matt's right. Both these teams, we should have questions about them. I'm not suggesting the Chargers, or I'm not making them my Super Bowl pick here, but I just do feel like you look at the talent and what they're bringing. I think that they are the better team. I think that by the time the season plays out, we'll see that. So I like the line. I think that a -3, I definitely lean pretty heavily to the Chargers.
All right, that is going to do it for us, this version of the Slate on Monday, October 4th. Best of luck with your showdown lineups tonight for Chargers and Raiders, and also any sports betting picks that you toss in over on the DK Sportsbook for this ball game tonight in Los Angeles. For our producer, Eamon, also T-Pipe behind the scenes, getting us up and running. To all of you tuning in on Twitch, YouTube, also on the Twitter stream, thanks for your questions and thanks for your feedback, chiming in. We certainly appreciate it. For Geoff Ulrich, Matt Meiselman, Brendan Glasheen, thanks for watching the Slate, which is every weekday here at DraftKings at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We take you up for about an hour until 6 o'clock. It will return tomorrow. I think we're doing baseball tomorrow, some wild card baseball. Steve Buchanan, Gary and Thorne, and yours truly will join you then. But in the meantime, enjoy the football tonight. Thanks for watching.